of it and modified it a little bit. It used to be called Managing to Your Gross Profit, and it talks about how your personal life is affected by your business life, and you got to meet your goals and so forth. I've done episodes on all this, but I stopped about an hour in because all these men, they were sitting right there paying close attention to me, but all of a sudden I felt the need to explain something. And I said, gentlemen, I got to stop. I got to answer a question that I know that some of you are thinking. And a couple of them said, no, Steve, man, we love you being here. When I go to prison, I think the main thing that people get out of my visits to prison is that they know that somebody cares. When I was in Brunswick Women's Correctional, Cassandra Taylor, who's recently retired, and she is one of my most wonderful close friends in the prison system. She retired about a month ago, and she's a huge New York Yankees fan, and so we've got that in common. And she's got a niece that's a great niece that's probably going to be an Olympic track star. Cassandra is absolutely wonderful. She had risen up to assistant warden years ago, but she elected just to take a pay cut and be working where she really wanted to serve, and that's in an area of workforce development in the women's prison up in Brunswick, Women's Works Center. And she told me one day, she said, you know, Steve, everything that you're doing to try to teach them about how to handle their money and all the other things that you do, they're really, really good. But I want to tell you that the number one thing that they get out of you being here is that having a man come into this prison and treat them with dignity and respect as a real human being, that's something that most of them have never experienced in their life, and that's the main thing they get. Just you being in here communicating with them as an equal. And I thank the Lord for giving me that ability, and I love it. And I've had some incredible experiences there. One of the best stories that I have, just I want to slip this in, is I always wear one of two suits, a brown suit and kind of a dark gray suit. Always a white shirt, never anything but a white shirt when I go in. And the same tie with the brown suit, same tie with the darker suit. And I just was trying to tell them one day, I said, hey, let me just tell y'all something about, I know y'all see me wearing the same thing all the time. It's either this suit or that suit. But I want you to know I do it because this is not about me. I don't want to be a GQ kind of a personality in here where it's about how nice Steve looks today and look at that tie he's got with that check shirt he's got or whatever. No. I say I wear a simple white shirt with the same tie because y'all need consistency in your life. And I just want to be one of the consistent people in your life. A woman raises her hand in the back and says, well, Mr. Copeland, don't worry about it. We wear the same thing every day too. That's just one of my best stories ever. Another piece of advice that I got from my friends up there in Brunswick was a woman one day said, they encourage me so much. I get more encouragement from being among people that are incarcerated than I do from most anywhere else in my life. I just love being in there. Like I said, I am one of the least of them, and it's true. They are trying so hard to rebuild their lives. Some of them, not all of them, haven't got it yet. But I was talking about some writing that I was doing, and I started my going to Don Green and Napoleon Hill Foundation 3.5 years ago to see if I could get Napoleon Hill Foundation to co-write a book with me because they do so many books. Don Green has got his name on 250 books, either that he's written or that he's co-authored with. That's what Napoleon Hill Foundation does, is they put out positive word everywhere. And if you've got a positive message, then maybe you should take it to Napoleon Hill and see if they have an interest in it. They just really want to get the word out, the Napoleon Hill philosophy, positive mental attitude. So I went for it. I decided that I was going to call up there and introduce myself, and I just picked up the phone one day, and Don Green, the executive director, met it, and I asked him could I come visit him. I set an appointment, and I did, and that was the beginning of my relationship with Don Green and his book on everything I learned about success. I learned from Napoleon Hill, Essentials of Positive Thinking. At this time of my life, that's one of the best books I've ever read and listened to. I'm on my 6th listening to it. I just leave it in my car. I listen to it over and over again. Every time I hear it, I get another positive detail of something that I don't want to miss. And so Don Green's been on the show twice, so I'm surrounding myself. Associations in life is so important. So anyway, the inmate in Brunswick said to me, Steve, when you write just like you talk. Well, what a compliment. I like to talk. I like to have y'all listen to what I have to say and give me the positive feedback that you do. It's worthwhile for me. Well, the program's evolved. And Dave Richards, who's a regular on the show, Dave Richards is a very, 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 very high-level guy. And I had a previous relationship with him where I taught his wife and his son karate about 15 years earlier. And I went to a seminar with some clients that he was a speaker. And at the end of the day, he said, hey, good to see you, Steve. And I didn't recognize him. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. Well, he said, let's get together. You know, what are you doing? I told him about right thinking, getting off the ground. He helped me do things, and I'm looking at something right now, and this is looks like a half pike, like a skateboard half pike, and it's the Right Thinking Foundation model. Identify those passionate to succeed, then connect and surround them with right influences. And it's this curve all the way on the right. We are starts on the left rather. When they're incarcerated, we want to give them some awareness. We want to give them education. We want to get them engaged, and we want to have them make a commitment. And then they transition out, and then we receive them when they come out, and then we connect them with other people, and they get back into the community. Well, then Dave gave me this amazing graphic. It's the 3 pillars to attack recidivism. You've got to have a place to live. So home is the first pillar. The second pillar is you've got to work. You've got to work. You've got to be able to be responsible and be productive. If you're not working, you're going to be just homeless and destitute and being out there just dependent on so many other things. And you have to be connected with community. You have to be connected to other people. Well, that's when I put that together, and Dave and I have kept those themes going forever, and it's evolved. And so as I went into prison, I started getting more and more. I started my relationship with the Virginia Department of Corrections, and from St. Bride's, there was Tracy Chumada, and she was the connection to the state. But it took me like 8 months. I could not get introduced to the headquarters in Richmond. I wanted to apply to become a statewide volunteer so I could go other places, but they wouldn't let me. I had to prove myself first. I went to St. Bride's and Indian Creek local, and then my program was getting better and better. To go back to the men that I took a big deviation here. I hope you stuck with me. So the 17 men at St. Bride's, I stopped with the PowerPoint, and I said, I got to say something to you that I know you're not asking, but I will. And I've done this on other shows, but what it is this. I said, I know that you're wondering why is this 61-year-old white dude standing up here dancing around in front of you telling what your life's going to be like when you get out of prison when he's never been incarcerated. And I said, I know you're thinking that. Some of you are. No, Steve, no, we don't care, whatever. And I said, no, look, my life's an open book. I'll share anything you want. I got arrested for drinking in public when I was a minor. I got another couple minor things like that. And I said, I haven't ever been incarcerated like y'all have here. But I said, let me give you my definition of a prison. A prison is a place where you don't have personal freedom. And everybody shook their head. And I said, and a prison is also a place where you don't have control over things. They shook their head. And I said, well, we all have our own prison. And then I told them about my prison with the diagnosis for the incurable bone cancer and how that changed my life. And I just led into my testimony. And I told them that I want to tell you something. It took me about a year to finally just let it go and give it up to the Lord. And I'll tell you one thing. I know right now that no matter how hard my life gets, no matter what life throws at me, I will never quit. And I want to ask you gentlemen something. When you get out and you're going around trying to stabilize your life and get hired and doors are closing in your face, I want to know who's going to quit. Anybody that's going to quit when life gets really hard when you get out, stand on your chair so the rest of us can look at you. Well, that was my breakthrough. That was my breakthrough in the prison population. And I have to tell you, 5 men, after I gave my full testimony like that, and it was a little deeper than what I just gave, they started to cry. Well, bottom line of what I'm saying is I went through years of working with the Virginia Department of Correction. A couple of years ago, they said, Steve, no one's ever gone as far as you. They've all quit. It's very, very hard to get funding. I've self-supported this myself. I've drawn from insurance policies. It's not easy, but it's growing. And I haven't been able to get funding from larger organizations because I was just local. And so right now, I learned from inside prisons that the very best way to fight recidivism is to get to the youth before they get too far out in the world and screw up. And so I took that knowledge that I had, and I got into an Achievable Dream Academy in high school, part of the Newport News Public High School program for at-risk kids, and I teach them real-life stories, real-life examples of how to really deal with life. But I have a very unique approach to finances. I've taken a 47-plus year, almost 50-year business career, and cash is king. It's all about cash flow. I've taken the successful principles that businesses use to be successful. You can't get a loan if you don't go to the bank and give them a pro forma, a projection of what your next couple of years are going to look like. The point is that I teach cash flow management at a personal level. So I have adapted business principles into personal life. And so I've got it going, and I'm attracting more and more people. And I have a good number of partners working with me now. But just recently, I've got a new partner, and it's Heritage Wealth Management Group. Chuck Christie is the principal, and this is the kind of thing that if you keep doing what the Lord tells you to do and not fear the unknown, things will happen. You will be put in with other people, and it will grow. And now we're going to have new production capability. He's doing live video stream of my radio show, and then stripping the sound, and that's how we get onto the Talk Network Radio with Jeff Heiser. I want to say thank you to Jeff this morning. When he talked about his thing, he talked about how you've got to have something to do. You've got to get into your purpose. He talked about his 6-year-old grandson and how he wanted to know, so what are you doing? And he goes, well, I've got everything done for today. I'm talking about my future. Jeff's show this morning was incredible. But he quoted me when we were talking about it before my show. His dad always told him, if you're not getting ready for something, you ain't doing nothing. Well, the bottom line is some of us can't not do things. And if we're following the direction that the Lord wants us to follow, you don't have to worry about what you're doing. Just keep doing it. So, Jeff, thank you for talking about my journey on your show this morning, and I appreciate you. Well, so then I got into redevelopment and housing communities, Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing, Newport News Redevelopment and Housing, trying to help people that are, quote, economically disadvantaged hardship populations. We're trying to get to the root of this problem where we've got so many people that are struggling, but they've lost hope. Johnny Thomas is one of my people that I work with that had lost hope. He said he lost his spark. And so my process is unique. First, they got to know you love them. Then they start to develop a relationship of trust. Then they might want to respect you enough to listen to you. As they start to listen, they might have a desire to change, but they might not know how to change. So you've got to give them motivation for why they should change. And then if they can go that far with you, if they're listening to you, they know you love them, then you can provide tools to them. Well, so what we're doing right now with Right Thinking is we're going to continue what we do, but now I've had a goal. Robin Kasarjian of Houses of Healing, the Lionheart Foundation, it's just about networking. This is the mastermind group in motion. I'll just tell you. So Don Price, the banker I told you about, who's involved in many nonprofits, he introduced me to a man named Steve Hammonds that's a man that is a high educator at a private school, and then he practices choice therapy, and he's tied into, I think it's the William Mann psychology. So he connected back to that group. That's a worldwide group. They connected me to Frank Ferguson, who's an 80-year-old gentleman that is a publisher. I spoke to him. He connected me to Robin Kasarjian. She sent me, he asked her as a board member to give Steve the whole video series and books on Houses of Healing. And then I met Robin. I watched all of her stuff. I made an appointment. I traveled to Boston to have a 3-hour meeting with her. She adopted me at that